Week 4 of college football is in the books, and no one's invincible. Some very, very major frauds have been found out, and it's anybody's game at this point. And I called one major upset, and we'll talk about that once we get into it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I am your host, Caleb Henson, as always, right here from the student section. With me, as always, is Austin Wiggers. What's up, buddy? How are we doing today?
What up, man?
And of course, as you can probably see now below me, joining us today, and hopefully for most episodes in the future, is our boy Owen Taylor, live from Missouri. What's up, buddy? How we doing? How we feeling?
Bro, I'm feeling great. Light me up, man. Turn me up, man. I got my nuts with me now. Light me up, bro. Come on now.
All right. And folks, this is what you can expect from Owen Taylor. He is just entertaining, to say the least. The hype man, the man, the myth, the legend. I don't have anything else to say.
The athlete, the model.
Watch. Hey, just
Sure.
watch the Fortnite videos that are on Caleb's channel. You'll see a little bit of it. Obviously, if you know him as a little bit closer, like we do, then you'll know there's a lot of other stuff that has been said in the past. Reference to a previous video that was not posted. Thank goodness, Caleb. But yeah. He's a good guy.
Yeah, he is. And we're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of fun this week and as we go forward. But we're going to hop straight into this. So as always, if you're watching the video on YouTube, like and subscribe down below. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, because we are live officially on Apple Podcasts now, subscribe, turn notifications on to make sure you'll get updated when all the episodes come out. Yes, I'm a basic influencer now, and I will tell you to like and subscribe. And it is shameless as well. I don't care. So we are going to go ahead and hop into talking about week 4 of the college football season. I almost said NFL. I'm still in my NFL brain these days. And we're going to start out by talking about how no one's invincible. And Georgia kind of proved that this week. Now, the one thing I have been seeing from hint, a lot of Alabama SEC fans is that, oh, Georgia's bad. They're not. Calm down, guys. Okay. Every team can have one bad game in a season where they just kind of don't look as impressive. And that was Georgia this week. And look, they still won by 17. Most people have been saying, well, they gave up 22 points at home to Kent State. So they had one bad game, guys. They're allowed to do that. It's Georgia. They'll be fine. They're still 4-0. They're still number 1. And we can keep it at that. Really not a lot to talk about this game. Georgia kind of looked, here's the thing. Georgia looked good, but that's not good for Georgia. So say what you will about this game. I don't have a lot to say. Georgia gets the win, continues rolling along. Just a little bump in the road.
Yeah, I agree. Not the best performance from Georgia, obviously, but they still won, still came out on top by 17, so good for them. Stetson Bennett looked okay, 272 yards on 27 completions. He had an interception, didn't have a touchdown, but he obviously did have a rushing touchdown, so good for him. Brock Bowers really carried. He saw 2 touchdowns, 2 carries for 77 yards. Like, geez, average of 38.5 yards per carry. Like, that's crazy. A 75-yard long. Like,
Brock Bowers has quietly been having an awesome season.
Yeah, he has been absolutely killing it. So good for him. Again, good for Stetson Bennett for getting almost 300 yards passing and also rushing for a touchdown. If you're a Georgia fan, no need to worry. A little bump in the road. You still got your win, though. It's not like you guys lost, so you're perfectly fine. Shouldn't be super happy about the win. It, probably should have been and certainly could have been much better. But, hey, they'll take a win, and they're ready for the next game. So.
Owen, anything you want to add about this one?
Oh, I'm looking at with Brock Bowers. That's some Randy Moss numbers. I just remember that 3 carries for 103 yards and 3 touchdowns or whatever. That's what I'm seeing right now from Brock Bowers. So bump in the road. Who cares, man? 4-0.
That's what I'm saying. Like, a bump in the road is a bump in the road, but the 4-0 record still reflects. And this is a team that had a bump in the road this week that stayed 4-0 but still looked decent. There's one other team that I think should be a little bit scared of their 4-0 with how they performed this week, and we'll talk about that as we get a little bit more forward. Moving on, we also have to talk about Clemson. Clemson's for real, y'all. Clemson silenced any of the doubters that they had this week about, like, is Clemson really back? Are they still elite? Yeah, they're still elite. They beat Wake Forest in 2 overtimes. Wake Forest looked really good. Clemson looked really good. But, of Quarterback for Clemson, DJ, is getting a lot more comfortable. He looks like he commands that offense now. 371 for 5 touchdowns, rushed for 52 yards as well. Excuse me. But yeah, Clemson gets the win. They are still there. They're still elite. Keep your eyes watched out for Clemson. They got probably their toughest test of the season coming up this week.
Podcast.
Talk about that. But yeah, awesome. What do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, really, really good game. I mean, both teams played hard. Obviously, Clemson comes out on top. DJ looked really, really good. Sam Hartman for Wake Forest, though, 20 of 29 for 337 yards and 6 touchdowns.
Yes, sir.
And he also had 10 yards rushing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really good numbers. So, this is not at all a bad performance for Wake Forest. I mean, I don't expect them to drop all that much. I think they're in a good spot where they're at. Played a really good team and played a really good game, just couldn't quite come out on top. But props to Clemson for, passing the ball well. They ran the ball well. Will Shipley, 20 carries for 104 yards and a touchdown. Good for him. The receiving looked pretty good for Clemson. Obviously, the highest was 4 receptions for 84 yards. But we saw Brings still got a touchdown. Collins got a touchdown. Spector got a touchdown. Like, several guys are getting touches. And, they're all contributing in some way. So, I mean, that's a scary offense. If you have a lot of guys that can contribute and can do the little things well, I mean, Clemson could potentially sneak in at the end for that 4th spot in the Coach Bowl playoff. It's a little early to tell. There's still a lot of games left. So we'll have to see how that, shapes up for them. But, I mean, they're looking really good right now.
Yeah, I somewhat agree with Austin. Obviously, they're looking good. I know they're looking good, I understand, but I think Wake Forest is just looking better, to be honest. With the who at the beginning of the season was like, oh yeah, Wake Forest is gonna be ranked and barely lose in overtime to Clemson. Like, no one thought that. But Clemson, I know they've had a very good history of, being in the Final Four and all that crap for the college football playoff. But this year, I just can't see it happening. I think with a 5 and a 21 ranked team, it should have been a more impressive win for Clemson. But that just shows the power of Wake Forest, and that I think Clemson's gonna have some problems down the road, and I don't think they're gonna make it Final Four. But who knows?
Interesting. I like it. I respect that take. I think, like you said, I think since Wake Forest is such a good team, I don't think that, Clemson struggling against them is necessarily. I don't think Clemson struggled in this game. Neither team struggled in this game. They both just didn't play defense. Like, both teams looked solid in this game. I think Clemson's need to worry about their secondary a little bit. I think their secondary got shelled quite a bit. Obviously, Hartman had 6 touchdowns here. So that'll be something Clemson will struggle with going forward. But if they can get that sorted out and kind of get the secondary on the same page and really clamping down on receivers going forward, then I think Clemson will be totally fine moving forward. Post that game, we have, I'm just going to touch on a couple games here. Oregon picking up another big win, 29 points in the 4th quarter for Oregon. Scores a big win over Washington State. Ever since Georgia, Oregon has been rolling right along. So Georgia fans should be happy about that, especially for your resume going into the playoff, most likely. Bo Nix had another great game, 428 for 3 touchdowns. Not a lot to say here. Oregon goes into Washington State, a tough Washington State team this year, and gets a big win. So good for them.
Yeah. Oregon, what I've noticed is they are very much a second half, especially 4th quarter team.
Yeah.
You want to go ahead and equate it to golf. They're a back 9 team. That's what they are. They start off, look at it. The first quarter, they were down 10-3. And then, 17-9. They're down by a decent amount going into halftime in a lot of these games. But then you do see that while they didn't, pick it up too much in the 3rd quarter, the 4th quarter is where they just exploded. And I think you could say that's, kind of a good thing, but also kind of a bad thing. It's good that they're being able to do that. It's good that they're getting wins and they're finding a way to win at the end of the game. But it's also kind of bad that they need to start doing that earlier. They need to start pulling away from some of these teams, or at least getting a couple more points in each quarter. So if they're down, they don't have as much of a climb, per se, up the mountain to get a victory. But props to them for pulling it out by 3 in a tough environment. And yeah, I'm excited to see how they do. And, props to Bo Nix and the whole offense for, put together 29 points in the 4th quarter. Like, that's really good. So good for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree with Also, know they need to get started earlier and start scoring some more points earlier because you're not going to be able to do that against big name teams like Alabama, Michigan, like Ohio. Like you're not going to be able to pull away like that in the fourth quarter if it's against those other big teams. So they have to set like a standard in the beginning and set a tone of the game, or else they're just not going to end up having trouble going into the playoffs. So.
Exactly, and both your points agree. Once Oregon starts getting to elite competition later in the year, that slow start at the beginning of games is really going to hinder them going forward. Alabama looks like Alabama moving on from them. Ohio State has found their groove. They are looking pretty much unstoppable. If you want to make a debate for who the best team in the nation is, I think Ohio State is probably up there at number 2. Maybe even number 1. They might be the best team right now. Georgia stumbled a little bit. I mean, Alabama looks great, but they struggle to beat Texas. Ohio State has been the most consistent, winning, finding ways to win, and only getting better. They had their stumble early and still won, and they're just going up from here. I think Ohio State will probably just stay undefeated all the way through to the college football playoff. I think they will. We'll talk about possible stumbling blocks for them, but I don't think it'll get to that point for Ohio State. I think they'll be fine going forward. Ohio State 4-0, huge game for them. Awesome game for Stroud. Ohio State keeps it moving.
I don't know if you need to say anything else about that. Pretty much summed it up, Caleb. But let me take over this part. Let me take over this part of the video for about 2 minutes. All right.
Let me go ahead because I have some thoughts on this one.
You go. All right, I'll go first, and you go. Listen. Go ahead. Everyone sees it, right? You all see that.
For those of you that are on audio, Owen has one of the iced out military hoodies for Michigan.
Go
which
blue.
Is icy. It's awesome.
So I know we stumbled here. Maryland is underrated. They're a solid team. Michigan didn't play as well as Michigan usually does. But let me tell you this. Michigan and Ohio State are going to stay undefeated the whole season to their last game of the regular season, which is against each other. That game will determine who is the better team between Michigan and Ohio State this year. And that will determine how well that team does in the playoffs. I'm saying if Ohio State beats Michigan that final game, they have a really good shot of winning the college football championship. But what I'm saying is if Michigan beats Ohio State final game of the regular season, we are going to obviously be in the 4. I don't think Ohio State would drop even if they lost. I think it would still be kind of like the Georgia, Alabama, Michigan, Ohio State. That's what I think is going to be in the 4 at the end of the season. And I think Michigan is going to beat Ohio State, and then Michigan is going to be solid and then probably lose in the playoffs like we always do. Anyway, I don't know. But this is an impressive year for Michigan. Don't sleep on them. We have a very easy schedule. The only 2 teams we play that are somewhat decent coming up is Michigan State. Let me put that in air quotes for you. And Penn State, another more air quotes. All right. Barely beat Purdue, Michigan, or Penn State. All right. Let me tell you that. So, again, very impressive performance by Tua's baby brother, besides the 2 interceptions. That was kind of weak, but not a bad performance. Just a great defense by Michigan. I know we obviously let up some points, but it's like a little road bump, like we talked about with George. All right, go ahead.
So I want to completely crap over your entire argument you just made because I would be shocked if Michigan's undefeated come Ohio State. I think they'll have 2 losses come Ohio State. That's just my prediction. Hold on. We'll get to that in a little bit. First of all, yes, Michigan has looked great all year. Here's the thing, though. This is their 4th game. They squeaked out a win against Maryland. They have not played on the road yet. This week, they go on the road and they play at Iowa. Okay? Now, for everybody that is sleeping on Iowa, I agree. Iowa's not a great team, but Iowa's also a team that tends to have Michigan's number. This is the same as what I said in the NFL podcast about like the Colts and the Chiefs. The Colts are a team that they just play the Chiefs well and have the Chiefs number, just tend to beat the Chiefs. I don't know why. Iowa's a team that tends to have Michigan's number, and especially playing at home, Iowa is one of the toughest places in the Big Ten to play. Yes, they're all tough. It's the Big Ten, but Iowa, especially for Michigan's a tough place to play. Michigan, they really got to get some stuff worked out, and they have to continue to look dominant if they want to beat Iowa. But we'll talk about that game when we get to predictions later on. But yeah, Michigan gets the win here. I'm not going to discount that. Props to Michigan. They beat Maryland at home. But to only beat Maryland by 7 at home really worries me for Michigan and how they're going to perform going forward. Because if you've got Iowa on the road, you've got to play Penn State, you've got to play Michigan State, you've got to play Ohio State. There's a lot of tough games coming up for Michigan, and frankly, I don't know if they're up to the challenge yet. I don't think they're up to the challenge yet. The Iowa game could absolutely prove me wrong. If they come out and win a dominant one against Iowa, I'll step back a little bit and be like, all right, Michigan looks like they're for real. But for right now, I can't honestly say that yet. I haven't seen enough from their team. In their first decent game, they struggle.
I'm gonna say I'm kind of in the middle of you two right now. Because like I agree with you, Calvin, that Michigan has not gone on the road yet, and they have not had a really strong test yet. Other than Maryland, the teams they played are just crap. They're not good. However,
they've played UConn and Hawaii as 2 of their games.
Yeah, but
and
when you
Colorado
the thing
State.
is, but so
Exactly.
so there is that component to it.
Also, quick sidebar. Hold on. Oh, when you mentioned Colorado State, Colorado State is one of only 3 teams left in the FBS that is winless. That is winless.
Listen,
okay?
but the performance we put on against those guys, like, are you like listen to these scores?
Purdue would put on that performance against Colorado State. That's not hard.
They would not. Listen to me. Michigan 51-7, Hawaii 56-10, UConn 59-0. They have performed so well against these teams. I know they're no-name teams, but the way we performed is how Michigan should be playing. That's all I gotta say. I mean, there might be no names, but putting up 50+ points on each team.
I mean, he's not wrong, because we talked about this when we were talking about the comparison of Michigan versus Michigan State, because both teams start off season looking good. But I said Michigan is looking like a better team right now, because even though they're both playing no-name teams, Michigan is absolutely dominating their opponents more than Michigan State is. Now, what I will say, hey, I'm still talking.
You go. Chill out. I'm getting mad.
So I gotta continue with my point here. So I said that I was like in the middle of you two.
Yeah.
I see where Caleb's coming from in terms of Michigan has not had a real bona fide test yet, and they've been at home for all these games. But I would also counter Caleb's point with, yeah, they're going into Iowa. It's a tough place to play, but Iowa is one of the worst teams in the Big Ten. They are awful.
Can't make that. You can't possibly make that argument.
They have only scored like 2 touchdowns out of their first 4 games this season.
That is so not true. That is not true at all. They scored 2 touchdowns in the first 2 games.
I'm going to predict it right now. Even though we're not quite doing game predicts yet, I'm predicting it right now. Michigan wins that game by at least 21 points.
Okay, and I'm picking Iowa to win. There's a spoiler. Okay, I'm picking Iowa to win.
What I'm saying is, I think Michigan against Iowa. I think Michigan that's a solid choice for a win. Michigan State, I'm honestly still going to give it to Michigan. I think the one spot where they have their stumbling block, in my opinion, or actually 2, I'll give it to you 2. 1 could be Penn State. Now, does anyone know, is Penn State home or away?
I'm looking.
Keep talking. I'll look.
Michigan's home.
So Michigan's the home team. Okay.
Light work.
For me personally, now Penn State, I believe they are a good team. However, they're playing in the big house against Michigan. I think it's going to be a good game. And I think it's going to be closer than a lot of people think, but I'm going to say Michigan wins that. So I think the only stumbling block is against Ohio State. And that's
what I'm saying.
With it being at Ohio State, I think that makes it even more challenging.
That's their only challenge.
So it wouldn't surprise me if Michigan goes into the Ohio State game undefeated, or I'm going to say at most they're going to have 1 loss.
But Iowa's record, Iowa beat South Dakota State 7-3, lost to Iowa State 10-7, beat Nevada 27-0, and then beat Rutgers 27-10. Those are literally, we would smack each of these teams by the same amount we have been. Same equal amount of no-name teams on both sides. And Michigan is just a dominant freaking team. We have a 76% chance.
Just look at the rating. I mean, look at Blake Corum right now. 30 carries for 243 yards and 2 touchdowns. Like, Blake Corum is
insane.
Blake Corum is unbelievable.
He is one of the best running backs in the NFL, top 3 for sure.
I'm not saying that I think that Michigan is the best team in the Big Ten or the best team. You know, I don't personally, if I'm speaking about it now, I would love to be cheering. I mean, I'm cheering for Michigan. I want them to do good. My prediction, though, is that they're going to lose to Ohio State, and I don't think they're going to get into the college football playoff. But I think they're going to have a 1 to 2 loss total at the end of the season. And I think they're one of the most dominant teams. I mean, right now it's between it's between Ohio State and Michigan are like those top two. And then you have other teams in there. Like, I mean, Minnesota's looking decent. They're not dominant, but they're looking good. Penn State's looking pretty good. I think it's kind of between those two for the race.
And Michigan State is not very
So
great.
the only I want to make a couple notes. We got to move on from this game to get on to other stuff.
Sure.
Iowa has won 5 of the last 8 meetings against Michigan. They have met 8 times since 2002, and Iowa has won 5 of those. So I'm going to say this is a team that, at least in the more modern era, because Michigan leads the overall series 43-15 in terms of wins and losses. So there's no doubt Michigan is dominant, but Michigan won their meeting last year. They met last year in the Big Ten Championship. Michigan won 42-3 because Iowa was not as good last year. And here's the thing. I don't think Iowa's as good this year. I also don't think Michigan's as good this year as they were last year. I still think Michigan's really good. I don't think they're as good this year as they were last year. So what I'll say is, and here's what else I'll say. Of the last meetings that have happened, sorry, my brain just completely capped out there. Of the meetings that have happened since 2009, 2009 was the first time Iowa won in that 5 of 8, the last 8. 4 of those wins have been in Iowa. So 4 of their 5 wins have been at home. So they got 1 win in Ann Arbor in 2010, and Michigan's won at home otherwise. So what I'm going to say is, like I said, Michigan struggles to play there. I'm still probably going to pick Iowa to win this game, but I'm also will come back next week willing to admit that if Michigan wins and they win big, I'll be like, all right, fair play. Michigan's good. I'm fully willing to come back and admit that. But for right now, I haven't seen the production from Michigan that I want to see, aside from their dominant games, which I don't count because they're bad teams. Like, if you're playing the worst teams in college football, I expect you to win dominantly. If Michigan had struggled against those teams, this would be a bad team. Maryland, I don't think Maryland's that good. And frankly, for Michigan to struggle at home as much as they have, they were not ready for this game. Will they be more ready for Iowa? Yes. But I still think Iowa's going to win that game because it's at home. I think it comes down to home field advantage. But I will come here next week. Quote me on this. I will come here next week and admit Michigan is good if they win big.
Yeah, and what I'm saying is, like, I see where you're coming from. Don't get me wrong. I completely see where you're coming from. My only counter to that, what was in my opinion, and the reason why I think I'm picking Michigan is, 1, I just believe they're the better team. But number 2, I also believe that, like, in those times that Iowa has won at home against Michigan, they've had a more dominant team overall. And I just don't think Iowa has what it takes this season to beat Michigan. That's what I believe.
I agree.
Disagree.
I agree.
I actually disagree with that. I think Michigan's overall had, hold on. Michigan overall has had the better team when they've met in those games. When they've met in those games.
I mean, like, let's say we were to give Iowa a rating, and let's say they beat them at home in 2015 or something. Let's say the rating that year for the team was like an 86. Okay. I think that this year they're more of like in the 70s or 60s. Like, I think that the team they have this year to go up against Michigan is worse than it was in past years, and like when they've won at home.
Absolutely. Okay, I'll give you that. Absolutely.
Yeah,
I
agree.
That was my
Michigan is. I think Michigan's better this year than they were last year. I know you said last year and this year, and I understand they beat Ohio State. I think it's similar, but this team is just so dominant compared to also the numbers that Iowa's been putting up, like 7-3 against South Dakota State. Are you serious? Like Michigan would win that 60-0 for sure. Anyway, we'll move on from this.
Before we move on from this, I just want to look at one thing really fast. Please bear with me for a moment here. I just want to see how Michigan started the season last year. So for comparison purposes, last year they started off against Western Michigan at home and won big. And they played Washington, Northern Illinois, and then they started into Big Ten play. So they had a tougher schedule last year and were performing basically just as well as they were now. So I don't know. That's all I'm going to say. Again, I'll come on here and be proven wrong. But we're going to move on. We've talked about Michigan for hours. Let's move on to the game that I called last week. I called on the podcast that this was going to be a trap game. And frankly, I called Kansas State to win. And look what happens. This goes back to the whole Michigan, Iowa, Colts, Chiefs thing. Oklahoma State struggles to beat the Kansas State Wildcats. And they proved it again here. Kansas State has won like the last 3 of the last 4 meetings or something. Like they are dominant against Oklahoma. So
I saw it.
Oklahoma,
I got hyped for that game.
So did I. And frankly, Oklahoma just lost their spot in the college football playoff. Like they're not getting it back because they're not.
Facts.
If this
Tell
team,
them.
like, I'm sorry, like there's other teams. Like I'm sorry, Kansas would have a better shot at making the playoff right now than Oklahoma does.
Hype them up. Go crazy, Caleb. Go
Because
crazy.
Kansas has obviously it's Kansas. Okay, we have to temper our expectations a little bit. But this Kansas team is good. Have you watched them play? This Kansas team is good. Okay.
Yeah, they are.
And the Big 12 is prone to just beating itself up all over the place, so they get themselves eliminated from the playoff. We've got Oklahoma State and Baylor this week. We're going to get another team eliminated from the playoff.
Our fire alarm's going off.
Bruh.
That's opening.
Weird break in that as Austin had to go evacuate the building because he had his fire alarm going off. So we love that. Owen, what are you doing?
Bro, let's just get that thing on the road, man.
This podcast is just awful. Anyway, we're talking about Kansas State and Oklahoma. I already summarized this one a bunch. Oklahoma lost their spot in the playoff. Can't beat Kansas State. Hop on the Kansas bandwagon. Kansas all the way, baby.
On it.
Let's go. We are riding Kansas.
Let's go, Kansas, baby.
Forever.
Hop on it, baby. Come on,
all
for
right.
real.
Anybody else want to say anything about this one before we move on?
No, skip.
No.
All right. Moving on from Kansas State and Oklahoma. We're back and we're hype. We're going to start flying through these. USC is barely escapes Oregon State with a win. Keeps things rolling at 4-0.
Didn't know USC was that highly ranked, to be honest with you. I did not pay attention to that.
Oh yeah, USC's good, bro.
USC is one of the best teams in the nation. People are saying they think that they might get into the college football playoff with how good they're playing.
They're the only undefeated Pac-12 team. I could see it. Correction, they're one of the only ones. They're the highest ranked undefeated Pac-12 team. The other one's Washington, who was also great.
I messed with Washington. All right, anyway, keep going.
Washington, dope. Kentucky struggles a little bit, gets a win.
They get a dub.
Kentucky keeps it rolling. A&M beats Arkansas.
At the Cowboy Stadium.
A&M on their rebound train. All right. Had that loss to Appalachian State, but we're back. A&M's back, baby. Keeping it rolling. They're ready for Alabama. Alabama's coming up in a few weeks down the road. But you know who else gets Alabama this week? Arkansas is coming off a loss. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, boy.
Something to look at coming up next week. Tennessee's for real, y'all. Tennessee is for real. I'm willing to say that. Tennessee is looking really good. Yeah. Anything else on that one?
No, I mean, Richardson had a really good game. Florida, they kept it close. Almost got a win, but I mean, really good job for Tennessee for finishing strong and just being able to squeak out a dub there. So good for them. They're really showing up right now. I didn't see it at the beginning of the season. I thought it was overhyped. I was wrong. Tennessee's coming to play. And
that could change going forward, but we'll see. NC State, they get Clemson this week, and they got a nice, easy respite with UConn. So I think they probably played most of their bench players that game. I don't know, something. That doesn't take much to beat UConn. Utah keeps it rolling after that Florida loss in week 1. Utah's still looking good. Penn State's scary, y'all. You watch out for Penn State this year. Penn State is going to be tough. And they are probably, I don't know. Penn State will get to that. I think Penn State will at least get to the Michigan game undefeated, depending on if they have them or Ohio State first. I'm not sure. I'll have to look at their schedule. But yeah, Penn State keeps things rolling. Ole Miss keeps things rolling with a win against Tulsa. Baylor gets a win against Iowa State. Washington. All right. If you're not like on the Washington hype train, I mean, Washington is looking real good.
Hop on it, boys. I'm Spider-Man. Hop on it.
They're looking really good.
Washington is looking really good. I just want to shout out, Michael Penix Jr. Coming off of back-to-back injured seasons with Indiana and transferring to Washington and just making a Heisman campaign, which is crazy to say coming off of back-to-back injured seasons. So really happy to see what Penix is doing in Washington. Moving on, BYU rebounds with a win against Wyoming. Texas is frauds. Okay, horns down. Get Texas out of here. All right.
Chill out.
Horns
Dude,
down.
I watched that game and dude, I was having so much fun.
Absolutely. I will say,
Horns down.
I will say Bijan Robinson is looking awesome for Texas. He's probably their most electrifying player in a while, so he's looking really good. But horns down, Texas. Kansas has 2 more wins than you. How do you feel? Kansas beat you last year. They're probably going to beat you again this year.
That's crazy.
That's all I got to say.
Next game, don't even talk about it.
What?
Don't even talk about the next game. That's some.
But I will talk about how Miami is also frauds.
Oh
Miami's
my
not
goodness.
back. Get them out of here.
Facts. Get out of here. This. Nope. Down.
Down. You down, baby.
Down.
Get Miami out of here. All right. Everybody's like, Miami's back and they're better. No. Miami and Texas are always back and they always disappoint us every single year.
Freaking do some push-ups.
So bad.
Yeah. They suck. All right. Get them out of here.
Do some push-ups.
That was the lightning round to get us through week 4 after spending an hour and a half talking about Michigan. So let's talk real quick about the latest rankings, where everybody kind of shuffled out after week 4. Not a lot of notable stuff here. Wake Forest only drops 1 after their loss to Clemson. Shows you how well they played. Kansas State enters the rankings. Florida State enters the rankings. Minnesota enters the rankings. Couple notes real quick. Watch out for Florida State. They're looking good. Watch out for Minnesota. They're looking good. And where's Kansas?
Hey, look at the bottom.
Why is Kansas not? Shut up, Austin. I'm still talking. Why is Kansas not ranked here? Okay, like Kansas is 4-0 and just beat Texas. Why is Kansas not ranked? And Kansas State is ranked.
Go Birds.
Thank you. Go Jayhawks. All right.
Go Jayhawks.
Yeah,
Why
go
is
Jayhawks.
Kansas not ranked? Austin, what are you gonna say?
I was saying they got 125 votes. I think it's a crime that they're not in the top 25, but hey, they got 125 votes. They're up there at the top. If they keep performing, they're going to be there.
125 votes doesn't matter. They should be ranked. The AP poll is the biggest joke of all time.
I agree. They should. I said I think it's a crime that they're not in there, but I'm saying at least they got their votes and that they're at the top of the voting right now. I just think that they should be in 100%.
AP voters come in here and keep Arkansas ranked and yet won't rank Kansas. What are y'all doing? It doesn't make any sense.
Hey, can you just go down a bit? Did Purdue get votes again? They usually get like at least 1.
No, because Purdue barely beat Florida Atlantic. Purdue sucks.
I know.
I was at that game. I was at that game.
Purdue is trash, okay?
Purdue is so bad.
We are terrible.
Guys, listen, Purdue could be so great if just George was back.
Yeah. Purdue would be great if we played football.
If we had an offense that was better than just Charlie. We rely on Charlie freaking Jones to do everything for us.
Well, yes, he looks great. What I'll also say is, words are hard. Can we stop getting penalties? Can we stop? Seriously. Like, this is ridiculous.
Also injured.
This is ridiculous. Like, Purdue is just like, yeah, we're just going to have 900 penalties in a game for 1,000 yards. Like,
yeah, they really pissed me off.
Let me look at
Purdue makes me angry.
Let me look at Purdue from last week. I want to see how many penalties they had. Just because they beat Florida Atlantic by 2 points at home. That's embarrassing.
It was homecoming. It was also kind of hype, though. The game was hype as crap. Not gonna lie.
The game would have been awesome to go to.
I was on the Jumbotron 7 times. It's not an exaggeration.
Were you actually? That's sick.
Me and Patrick were getting. Oh, it took Patrick. We were getting lit, dude. I got so many texts. Dude, I just saw you on the game. Yeah, you did. So. Purdue.
Okay, only 5 penalties for 55 yards. Why are we getting 11-yard penalties every time?
That's not bad. I know that's not bad.
It's not bad, but still.
The penalties last game were not bad at all, but the ones previously, yeah, I agree. But,
and like what I will say about penalties real quick, just before you say what you want to say, Owen, is
go ahead.
That's going to suck come Big Ten play.
Fact.
Like, you cannot be doing that Big Ten play. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's also like, I forget the game. There's a game in the NFL. Oh, he's in the NFL. Oh, this is kind of unrelated, but it related in the same way. When the Colts lost to either the Steelers or the Chiefs last year, one team, and Rock Ya-Sin, you guys know who that is?
Yeah.
The safety on the Colts laid up 2 PIs and marched them all the way down to the 5-yard line.
Yes, I remember that.
That against the Steelers. This is what will happen to these teams. They get too many penalties, and then they just booed the game because the Steelers got so close and won at the last second.
Well, we literally saw, me and Kel talk about this. We literally saw it in the Purdue versus Syracuse game. Purdue had an amazing drive to get down the field and score to take the lead. And then they get 2 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, have to kick off from their own 10. Then they get a stop on 3rd down, so it should be 4th and 10, and they give up a defensive holdings. Now it's 1st and 10 again, and the defense just can't stop them. Like,
it's crazy.
for the
Yeah.
penalties,
And what I want to say, and think about how much of a miracle it is we won this game. We had the same amount of first downs, the same amount of turnovers. Time of possession was basically the same, and they had 66 more total yards than we did. How did we win this?
Yeah, it's
Like,
insane.
It's probably that one other extra penalty they had, but even still, like, Purdue sucks. I'm sorry. Like, we got to do something.
And also didn't help that we had a backup quarterback in.
But Aiden O'Connell was hurt.
But Burton didn't play bad. He was 21 for 29, 166 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, he didn't play bad, but I'm saying, like, I think that if Aiden O'Connell was in, Purdue would have done at least a little bit better. But like Owen said, we cannot be relying on Charlie Jones to do everything for us.
Exactly.
Like,
we targeted him so many times in that game. I know he got a touchdown, but like, still, come on now.
How many
he's also partially injured as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
yeah. Purdue, what I will say, Purdue goes on the road to Minnesota this week, and we all know Purdue's track record with good teams. That's all I'm going to say. Maybe not this year, but we'll see. Anyway, that's probably about it for week 4, and then talking about the rankings. This page would load. What do you say we make some week 5 predictions, boys? What do we think?
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about the ones that need to be talked about. The ones that we do. It's like obviously a blowout would have skipped through into the name. You know what I'm saying? Cool.
All right. I'll lead the way though, because it's my show.
Yeah. Obviously, that's what I was gonna say.
I know. I'm messing with you. Let's start. Okay. Well, let's start off with Friday for a minute, because this is 4-0 Washington going up against 4-0 UCLA. Both teams have been on fire. Both teams have been really good. This is Washington's favored by 2.5, and the over under 64.5. I could totally see betting the over on this game, like 100%. I'm going to stick with Washington. I'm riding that Washington hype train. Michael Penix Jr., as you can see there, almost 1,400 yards passing in 4 games and 12 touchdowns. He is the passing yards leader so far this year. I did look that up before the show. But yeah, Washington just keeps it going, moves to 5-0. I'm picking Washington.
Yep.
Same.
Right.
Purdue at Minnesota. As much as I want to pick Purdue because they're my team and Purdue as well against good teams, I can't in good conscience pick them. So I'm picking Minnesota, but this is a pick I would love to get wrong.
I agree with you. Minnesota as well. I want to pick Purdue, but I think Minnesota is going to do better.
I agree.
Yep, I'm saying Minnesota. Purdue has not proven themselves
Minnesota's running back is insane.
Oh, yeah.
He's a tank.
Yeah, he's got 567 yards and 8 touchdowns.
He's crazy.
This is going to be a fun game. Oklahoma State and Baylor. Oklahoma State undefeated. Baylor 3-1. Over under for this game is 56.5. Bet the way over on this one. These teams are going to score at least 70 on each other. Spencer Sanders has been looking awesome for Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's basically one of the last stereotypically good undefeated Big 12 teams that we have left. I'm not counting Kansas in that because Kansas isn't typically good. I think Oklahoma State marches into Baylor and gets a big win again, gets their revenge from Baylor over last year. Oklahoma State picks up the win here and sets themselves up for a college football playoff run.
I agree. 100%.
Everybody is saying this is a trap game for Georgia. It's really not. Georgia's going to win big at Missouri.
Bro, that's light work, bro.
Light work. NC State and Clemson.
Okay,
this is a game to watch. Now, here's what I'm going to say. I do not believe the NC State hype here. I think Clemson is favored by 7. I think Clemson wins by more than 7. I think Clemson easily wins by more than 7 here. I'm predicting a Clemson win by at least 2 touchdowns.
I agree.
I give it to you.
100%.
Stanford and Oregon. Oregon favored by 17. Stanford's bad. Oregon wins. Continue.
For sure.
Michigan at Iowa. Iowa wins the upset. I'm calling it.
You better chill right
Go blue.
now. Go blue,
Iowa.
baby. Come on.
I'm riding the Iowa train. And like I said, I will come out here next week and admit that I was wrong if Iowa loses, okay?
You owe me a 250 word essay of why you're sorry and why Michigan's amazing.
Absolutely not. It's my show. You can't say that. But I will come on here and probably say that many words why I was wrong.
All right, I keep going.
A sleeper for game of the week here, Kentucky and Ole Miss.
That's game of the week?
A sleeper for game of the week. No, it's not. I'm saying it's a sleeper for that could be a potential game of the week.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm gonna go bold. I'm gonna say Ole Miss pulls off.
That's what
upset.
I was gonna say. I was gonna say Ole Miss gets the upset.
Ole Miss
home.
gets the upset because it's only because of home field. I'm saying it's
Facts.
a home field
I
advantage
agree.
here.
I 100% agree.
I thought you guys were gonna go. I thought you guys. I'm saying Kentucky.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
I respect.
I
I respect that a lot.
Kentucky's looking like a solid team, so I'll have to go with them.
I just think Ole Miss is one of the, I think, could be the top 5 hardest places to play in the SEC. Could be. I mean, there's a lot of good teams, but they're a really tough place to play. I think Ole Miss handles business here. Oklahoma at TCU. This is an undefeated TCU team that hasn't been looking bad itself. But I do think, okay. Also, look at the line for this. 69.5 is the over-under for this game. That's insane. Oklahoma favored by 6.5. I think Oklahoma does win this game, but just barely.
Barely. I
Barely.
was gonna say the same thing.
I agree.
Tech at Kansas State. Kansas State coming off a big win. I could totally see them falling flat a little bit here, but Texas Tech is also coming off of beating Texas. So I think both teams are kind of flat, and Kansas State's just better enough to win.
I say Tech. I say wreck 'em.
Wow.
I'm saying Red Raiders, baby.
Wreck 'em,
Dang.
baby.
No, I'm going
Wreck 'em.
K-State. K-State keeps that momentum going.
Red
Wreck 'em.
Raiders.
Oregon State and Utah. This is going to be closer than people think. I think Utah's here by 10.5. I could see them winning by a closer margin.
I agree.
Because Oregon State played really well against USC at home last week. I could see this being close. Alabama at Arkansas. This is going to be also going to be closer than a lot of people think. Alabama wins, though. It's Alabama. I can't
Listen.
pick
Yep.
against them.
Guys,
Yes.
I'm gonna flow. I'm gonna paddle against the tide on this one.
Wow.
Oh,
Only because I have an Arkansas shirt in my closet.
Fair enough. Good luck, Charm.
So, woo pig suey. That's all I gotta say.
Hey.
And you know what I'm gonna say? I think Alabama's gonna win,
Hey,
but
whoop.
if Arkansas upsets them,
I think
it's
it's
not gonna be that big of a shock to me.
I think Arkansas wins. That's all I'm gonna say. All right.
Fair enough. And okay, Austin, I'll agree with you, but the shock of the upset will depend by how much they win. Like if
Okay,
they come
that's
in and
fair.
just clap Alabama,
Okay, then yes,
like,
I'll be shocked.
yes, but I think Alabama wins this one. It's the safe pick. I got to go with it here. But Arkansas is coming off that loss to A&M, so I'm going to say, so you never know. Ohio
Okay.
State beats Rutgers by at least 40. At
Yep.
least 40, minimum.
Listen, I'm gonna go against.
You better, I swear if you pick Rutgers here, I'm kicking you off the show. I swear if you pick Rutgers, I'm kicking you off the show. There's no way.
This is what makes it interesting, Caleb. God.
You're not, okay. Yeah, you're not wrong. I will say it is entertaining.
Rutgers wins in overtime.
All
I
right.
love it. I love it. If we, Owen, trust me. Here, okay, Owen, okay. Next time I see you in person, right? If Michigan wins and Ohio State loses, I will shake your hand. Okay. Next time I see you in person, I will shake your hand and be like, hey, props to you, my friend.
Wow, a handshake.
Shut up, Austin.
You have to buy them
Also-
like food or something.
I'm down for that.
If Owen gets both these picks correct, if Rutgers wins and Michigan wins, then
Yeah, I think that's the
you
one.
owe him food.
And
Yeah,
if
take that
I get
one.
both picks correct, he owes me food. So if I
No,
get
that's not
Iowa
how
and
that
Ohio
works.
State, yes, it
That's
is.
not how it works.
You get Michigan and Rutgers, and I get Iowa and Ohio State.
What if it's like 1-1, then it just offsets?
Then it's offset.
Yeah, then it
I
offsets.
bet that's fine. All right, that's cool.
Dope. I'm down. I'm so down.
All right,
I'm gonna hold you to
cool.
that. Penn State wins by at least 30 over Northwestern.
Michelle, skip.
Wake Forest and Florida
This is a
State.
good.
This is going to be a really good game. Over
Really
under
good game.
Great game.
Florida
Are you
State. Florida State wins in overtime.
I was gonna say that crap,
Yes.
dude.
Florida State at
Yeah.
home wins in overtime.
I have a Florida State visor. I want to call it stuff. Anyway, yeah,
Anyway.
I agree with you guys, 100%.
Yep,
Texas
Florida State.
A&M. Texas A&M walks into Starkville and wins a very close game again.
Gig 'em.
No. Mississippi State wins. Mississippi State upsets A&M.
Whoa.
Calling it right now. Calling it
Whoa.
right now. Don't sleep on Will Rogers and Mississippi State.
A&M wins by 21.
Mississippi State is favored by 4 in this game, by the way.
Yeah, here's the thing. I'm tempted to pick Texas A&M, but the issue is, I mean, like apart from last game, they really have not been able to score too many points. I'm gonna have to see another good game out of them before I start picking them more often. I'm picking Mississippi State.
Love it. I
Crazy.
love to see it. Pittsburgh gets a big win. USC gets a big win.
Yep.
I do want to run through a couple other games. One other big game in the SEC this week: LSU and Auburn play this week. LSU wins by at least 2 touchdowns at Auburn.
I don't know about that. Listen, they're playing at Auburn.
Auburn's not good.
Yeah, Auburn has not looked good this year.
I know they're both 3-1. I'm still saying LSU wins. I don't think I guess 14 points is a legit. All right, that's cool.
All right.
I'm gonna give it to LSU.
Fair enough. We're all picking LSU there. Florida, you better win. I swear, Florida, if you don't win. We are coming on this podcast next week, and I'm shredding you so hard if you lose.
Flaming. I will flame Florida. Bro.
I will flame Florida for legit 20 minutes. I will go on a 20-minute rant about how bad Florida is. Michigan State and Maryland. I think Michigan State has to rebound here. I think they do and get a win against Maryland here.
No shot. I think Maryland definitely beats Michigan State for sure.
Yeah, wow. I think Maryland, after almost beating Michigan, I think Maryland
comes
out strong at home and takes Michigan State distance and wins. I'm picking Maryland.
I think because Maryland almost beat Michigan, they come out flat, and Michigan State comes out angry after getting embarrassed. That's all I'm going to say.
I see it.
Nebraska continues losing. As much as I hate to pick Indiana, Nebraska just is that bad.
Yeah.
I'm picking Indiana.
Yeah.
Wow. My soul left my body on that one. So yeah, a lot of good games this week, y'all. Keep your eye on Washington and UCLA tomorrow, and then of course Oklahoma State and Baylor on Fox at 3:30. NC State and Clemson on ABC at 7:30. Michigan and Iowa, big noon Saturday on Fox. Kentucky Ole Miss kicking us off on ESPN after game day. Oklahoma TCU on ABC. And then Alabama, Arkansas, of course. SEC on CBS. Enjoy your SEC on CBS games, folks. This is the last year before we get Big Ten on SEC starting next, or on CBS starting next year. So you heard it right here. Yes, this is the last year of the SEC and CBS contract. So and it was not renewed. So rest in peace, SEC on CBS. You will be seeing the Big Ten on CBS starting next year. They signed a deal. Yeah. Any other notes that we want to go over before we bounce out of here, boys?
No, I'm good.
All right. Well, you guys heard it here first. Tune in to college football this week. It is going to be absolutely awesome. I am so stoked for this. The podcast is going up tomorrow morning, so you will see that there on YouTube and on Apple Podcasts. You'll see it there. For those of you that are, well, you won't see this, but the Dolphins Bengals is live right now, so we're going to go watch that. I'm going to watch the Dolphins, hopefully clap the Bengals. I could totally see it happening. Looks like perfect times. My internet's kind of cutting out a little bit. So I'm going to wrap it up here, wait for their cameras to come back on, make sure that we are good to go. Owen, thank you so much for being here. As always, I look forward to seeing you next week here with us. Austin, I'll see you here as always next week.
Let's go.
Boys, send us off.
All right. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like, subscribe. Take care. Peace.
Go Blue.
Go Blue.